part of why we want to do this whole Yes We Code thing is it's the next step to me in trying to figure out what's worth trying now. A lot of the activist community, of which I'm a part, we keep saying, well, we're going to bring change. We're change makers. We're change makers. No, we're not. We're not changing nothing.
Come on, give us a break. What do you mean we're not change makers? Explain yourself.
Look at where the change is coming from right now. Silicon Valley is upending the whole world right now. We don't have to go tell people we're going to make change, we're going to make change. The change is coming fast and furious, and people are terrified. We don't have to be, we're going to make change. Look, we have a revolution happening right now in robotics, a revolution happening right now in information technology, 3D printing. We're taking on the power so we can hack our own DNA. Think about that now. People are going to be designing their own children. Like crazy levels of change is coming in all these scientific revolutions that are wiping out industries, upending whole industries all around the world. We're not making change, and we don't even have to say we're going to make change. What we have to say is change is coming. Now, we're going to help to make change your friend. We're going to figure out a way to make sure these changes have some ethics and some values and some morals and don't wind up wiping out human civilization and wiping out species. There's work to be done. But it's a humble posture to say, hold on a second. I think the change makers are in the scientific fields right now. The change makers are in information technology. The change makers are in Silicon Valley. What are they doing to my job prospects? If robots and apps are going to take all the jobs, what's going to happen to my children? Well, now we need to come forward and say, okay, first of all, let's put the power to design the future in the hands of our children. Teach them computer coding. Teach them computer science. Teach them, if rather than have the robot take their job, they should be designing and building the robots themselves. Can we imagine a future where our kids, black and brown, low opportunity kids, have been given the same tools and same training that Zuckerberg has, where they can then go and create out of nothing, as he did, apps that can save the world, computer programs and companies that can save the world, or they can save their neighborhood, or can at least help them be employed. These are the kind of things we got to leapfrog a whole bunch of stuff now, and we say yes, we code. That's a very powerful statement for young people from low opportunity communities to say yes, we code, because it's code or be coded. I mean, somebody's designing the future right now. Somebody's building the future right now. Is it you? Is it your child? Is it in your neighborhood? If not, we got to fix that.
Right.
Now, people are going to say, well, wait a minute, Van. You were talking about green jobs, and then you were talking about President Obama, and you're talking about Occupy and Obamacare, now you're talking about coding. Yes, because the world is changing just that fast. Yeah. And we've got to be able to keep up and keep in front. Last thing I'll say is this. African Americans in particular, the Latinos, Asians, oppressed people, progressives are very good at history. Most of the historians that I know now that are awesome are African Americans and Latinos, people of color, trying to reclaim our history, trying to excavate our history, trying to make sure to wage this war against forgetting our history. And that's great. I'm all for history. But most of the futurists are white. When you hear people talking about the future and how it's being described, you don't hear a lot of talk about black folk and poverty and, Watts and Detroit. So there's something wrong. If all the African Americans are historians and all the white folks are futurists, we're missing each other. We've got to be able to do what Dr. King said and articulate a future that's worth fighting for. Dr. King wasn't only talking about the crimes of the past or critiquing the present. He said, I have a dream. He didn't say I have a critique. He didn't say I have a complaint. He didn't say I have a lament. He said I have a dream. That's about a future. And he articulated a future so well that we're still trying to build that future that he articulated. Yeah. So the question has to be now, those of us who work in urban communities, rural communities, reservations, housing projects, Appalachia. What is the future that we are trying to build? What is the future that we can claim? And if the future that's coming might leave us out or bowl us over, what can we say to and about that? And that, to me, is the next conversation. We obviously have to continue to keep alive the memory of all human struggles, especially, as far as I'm concerned, in the United States, these racial struggles. But that said, can you imagine a situation where you have to go to a reservation to see genius, to see things being invented and created on the Native American reservation that are not happening anywhere in the world because we delivered the skills and the tools and the technology to those communities where they're now just taking things a whole different direction? Or can you go to Detroit rather than begging to have factories come back there and pollute everything, where you have 3D printing going on and you have all kinds of stuff going on, and Detroit is coming back as the bottom-up hub of genius. We got to stop wasting genius. Can you imagine kids coming out of prison who are the best coders in the world? Can you imagine a future worth fighting for, where all these new technologies are in the hands of the people and are being used by not big corporations just to make money, but used by communities to make a difference and to make life better? Well, if you can, let's get out there and fight for that and work for that and create that. And, that's where I'm coming from at this point. I really think it's important that we, and Green Jobs was that way as well, pick a future and fight for it.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say one thing is that in the Bay Area and in Oakland specifically, I think in San Francisco too, and those out there who know can correct me, especially I know Ashara, she knows that there are Black futurist organizations that are meeting, convening, and doing some great work. And I'm really, in Oakland, California, San Francisco, the Black futurists are on it. And that is, so I'm hearing what you're saying, and that is absolutely essential that we are in those places. I mean, it's just like when you see the movies of the future and there's no people of color in them, you wonder, okay, so what does that mean? But but there are definitely groups that have formed in the Bay Area, the Black futurists, that I haven't seen the Latino yet, but we're really happy to see that happening. And so it seems to me, there's a couple of things I want to say before we go to our listening audience to ask some questions. But we said we were going to talk about the Trayvon Martin verdict on this, and the George Zimmerman verdict on the Trayvon Martin case. And I read something in your book. I didn't write it down exactly. I can't remember. But your dad, it's from at the very beginning when your dad said something about that the best answer to oppression is excellence. Mm-hmm. And I'm seeing this Yes We Code as it's like, okay, Trayvon, he's gone. It wasn't right. We know that. So what do? Yes, we code. We become excellent. And it seems to me that I'm seeing your reaction, and I'm sure it's more than just Trayvon. You've come a long way with where you are politically and where your headspace is that I'm loving, that I'm following. But all of it is leading to excellence. And I'm seeing you do exactly what you read in the book, that I read in the book that your dad said. The best answer to oppression is excellence.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate you mentioning my father, Willie Anthony Jones. He passed away in 2008. I was just home over the holidays to see my mother, see my sister, see my nephews, and I had my boys with me. I have 2 little boys, and we were in the main grocery store in my little town. And so many people came up to me saying, "Oh, I knew your father. I knew your father. Oh, he was so amazing. He was so great. He did so many things for our community, et cetera, et cetera." I feel like I'm still trying to catch up to him, in terms of his courage and strength and commitment. And if you don't live in Jackson, Tennessee, you never heard of my father. But if you are from my hometown, you definitely heard of my father. And and I am trying to live up to his example and also the things that he taught me. Part of the reason why I don't worry too much about the criticism is I look at what my dad went through.
Yeah.
People honestly think that they can hurt my feelings by saying, negative things. Nobody's putting dogs on me.
Right.
Nobody's putting fire hoses on me.
Put it in perspective, right?
Nobody has put me in jail. Nobody's beaten me upside the head. My father and his brothers, what they went through in Memphis, Tennessee, trying to desegregate that town. I mean, nobody's done any of those things to me. They say mean stuff sometimes, and sometimes they say nice stuff, but it's all just words. So you have when you're raised by somebody like my dad, who was born in abject poverty, who was born in segregation, who had joined the military in the middle of a war just to get out of poverty, and then he comes home and he puts himself through college, he puts his little brother through college, he puts me through college, he puts my sister through college, he becomes an educator, he lifts up so many different kids out of the housing project. Like I said, I can't go home. When I go home, everybody, they all come to me talking about President Obama or CNN. They come and talk to me about Willie Anthony Jones, my father. And so I'm chasing him. I'm not worrying about, one more thing I'll say about my dad. You know, because of what my dad had gone through, and because of his commitment to lift up poor kids, he had to take a lot of heat. This is telling you about the 60s, 70s, 80s. There was a lot of blatant racism still. I mean, racism now, it was in your face, inward kind of racism.
Absolutely.
And he had to face down all that stuff with threats. And so for me, he didn't go through all that for us to imprison ourselves, and for us to imprison our own mind and be afraid to put a thought out there because somebody from the left is going to criticize it. You have to come with a lot more than just some mean tweets to stop me from at least expressing my best ideas. Where are all the black Mark Zuckerberg? That's a question that we don't want to have to deal with. Where are all the black Mark Zuckerberg? And if there are not enough black Mark Zuckerbergs out there wearing hoodies and creating companies and wearing hoodies and coding and wearing hoodies and changing the whole game, then we have a responsibility to call out the racism, but we also have the responsibility to call up the best in this next generation and give them the tools and give them the technology and give them the opportunity to become the next Mark Zuckerberg. We can't just stop with the anti-racism. You also have to be pro these damn young people.
Right.
And do something to help them. And it turns out that there are incredible programs all over the country that are doing exactly that. We're talking about Black Girls Code or Hack the Hood or Hidden Genius Project or Code Now or All-Star Code. I mean, you have incredible programs to this moment that while we're sitting here talking are teaching young kids computer science and coding skills so they can go out there and change the world. And nobody knows anything about them, or not enough people know about them. And they're getting lip service. They're not getting the investments. They're not getting the donations. They're not getting the support. And so that's when, talking to Prince, my friend, he's a rock star named Prince, and others in that tier, well, nobody in his tier, but others who are, African-American VIPs and other VIPs, post Trayvon, I started saying, well, we need to do something so that, we can have some kids wearing hoodies who are doing stuff that nobody can argue with. And so we've been reaching out to an unbelievable positive reception from all these groups that have already been doing this. I'm not a coder. I don't know anything about coding. I don't know anything about computers. But we have geniuses in our community that are teaching kids every day. And so we launched this thing called #YesWeCode. And the point of Yes We Code is to, sorry to hear that little beeping there, I'll go in a second. But the whole point of Yes We Code is to lift up these groups and these leaders that are out there right now already doing this great work. Just like with Green Jobs, I didn't teach anybody how to put up a solar panel because I don't know how to put up solar panels. But the groups that were lifting up we're doing that work, we lifted them up, and we tried to make sure they got support and attention.
Yeah.
So Yes We Code is my response to what happened with Trayvon, and we're just getting started. The website just went up yesterday. We got a long way to go, but I can tell you that the July 4th weekend in New Orleans, Essence Magazine is having its 20th anniversary festival, the music festival, and Prince is going to headline down there. And we're going to launch a big aspect of Yes We Code at the Essence Music Festival in New Orleans. Get about 250,000 people, Prince, and a bunch of other celebrities to get behind these young people and help them become. We're going to try and get 100,000 young people to become the best coders in the world, and that's the next experiment we're going to try.